Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, I continue bringing you the story of James and LyTuDiep, a journey filled with inner turmoil, where family bonds and love stand on opposite sides, forcing painful choices. After gathering all the evidence related to his own father's wrongdoing, James found himself in a situation he never imagined he would have to face. Before him lay the naked truth, proof strong enough to end everything with a single decision. If he handed it over, the truth would be exposed, justice would speak, and those mistakes would have to pay their price. Yet the longer James held those documents in his hands, the heavier his heart became. The words father and son felt like an invisible chain tightening around his heart, leaving him unable to move even one step forward. James had been hurt, disappointed, and utterly shattered when he discovered who his father truly was. Though reason kept urging him to act, his heart refused to let him become cruel. He could not bring himself to send the man who gave him life to prison, nor could he turn their father-son relationship into a wound that would never heal. His hesitation was not a sign of weakness, but the result of thinking too much and hurting too deeply. In the end, James chose to face the truth. He placed all the evidence before his father in an atmosphere so heavy it was almost suffocating. He did not raise his voice, threaten, or accuse. His tone was strangely calm, as if he had long prepared himself for this moment. He made only one request, the final boundary he was determined to protect. From that moment on, his father must never interfere with the lives of Diep and little Nee. James's eyes were firm, yet filled with an unspeakable pain. They were the eyes of a son who had seen through every mistake, but still tried to preserve the last trace of familial affection. Faced with such honesty and heavy silence, James's father was shaken. He realized his son had not come to confront or destroy him, but simply to put an end to the silent suffering surrounding innocent people. After that meeting, James's father truly stopped interfering in James and Diep's lives. The hidden pressures and unseen manipulations gradually faded, leaving behind what seemed like a peaceful silence. Yet that silence did not mean acceptance. Deep down, he never truly believed Diep was the right woman to stand beside his son. In his rigid mindset, she was not of equal standing, not worthy enough to become an official part of the family. That dissatisfaction was never openly expressed, but it continued to smolder like a small fire that never went out. It lingered quietly, weaving itself into thoughts and glances, making everything that appeared calm never truly complete. And from that tense, conflicting silence, James's next choices slowly began to take shape. As 2026 officially began, James looked back on the road he had traveled with a completely different state of mind. Gone were the prolonged hesitations and the moments of convincing himself to wait just a little longer. The new year arrived as a clear turning point, forcing him to make a decision for his own life. James understood that this was not merely the start of a new year, but the moment he had to take full responsibility for the woman who had stood by him through months of turbulence and uncertainty. In the very first days of 2026, James realized an undeniable truth: he could no longer allow Diep to remain by his side without a clear and rightful place. All her sacrifices, her pain, and the silent endurance she had shown for his sake could no longer be ignored or postponed. For James, this decision was no longer driven by fleeting emotion, but by a promise he made to himself at the beginning of the new year, a serious commitment that could not be taken back. Memories of his previous proposal suddenly resurfaced in his mind. At that time, Diep had been lying in a hospital bed, her health fragile, while he was overwhelmed by the fear of losing her. The proposal was spoken in haste, lacking preparation, lacking the space and emotional fullness that Diep truly deserved. Though that moment had once moved her deeply, for James it had always been a quiet source of regret. He knew that proposal was not enough to make up for everything, nor was it worthy of becoming a truly beautiful memory in her life. Stepping into 2026, James refused to carry that regret with him any longer. He wanted to begin the new year with a decision that was clear, firm, and responsible. He wanted to give Diep a proposal in its truest sense, not rushed, not born out of fear, but rooted in certainty and choice. James wanted Diep to understand that she was not only the woman he loved, but the woman he chose to walk beside for the rest of his life. With that resolve, James quietly began preparing everything as the opening decision of his new year. He reached out to Lee, Hung, Tu Sam, and lytutieu, close friends and brothers who had witnessed his growth and transformation through every hardship. To James, they were not merely helpers, but the ones who best understood the meaning of the moment he was about to create for Diep. All the preparations unfolded in silence, without extravagance or noise. James did not need a grand or flashy ceremony, because he knew Diep did not seek extravagance. What he wanted was a space warm enough and dignified enough, where every detail reflected sincerity and respect. That was how James chose to begin 2026, with seriousness and clarity in his love. Alongside his closest friends, James also invited his mother to witness this moment. For him, this was not simply a proposal, but the most important decision of the new year, one that deserved the presence of those he loved and respected the most. James wanted that moment to become a milestone, not only for his love with Diep, but also for himself, as he stepped into 2026 with a choice free of hesitation. In a space glowing with brilliant lights, where warm strands of illumination were delicately arranged to embrace the entire room, the soft laughter and quiet conversations of familiar faces filled the air without ever becoming overwhelming. In that moment, time seemed to slow. Everything around them still existed, yet it felt as if it were gently stepping back, making room for an important moment that was about to unfold. Within the carefully prepared setting, cozy, elegant, yet never showy, James walked toward Diep with a presence unlike his usual self. His gaze was deep and unwavering, free from the hesitation or uncertainty that once lingered in his eyes. He stopped in front of Diep, the distance between them close enough to hear each other's heartbeat. Then, James slowly knelt down. The movement was neither rushed nor hesitant, as though he had replayed this moment in his mind countless times. At that instant, all surrounding sounds seemed to fade away. The space grew strangely silent, leaving only the two of them facing each other in a pause heavy with emotion, where every gaze instinctively focused on them. James spoke the proposal he had carried in his heart for so long. This time, his voice was low and steady, no longer trembling with fear or panic like before. He did not rush, nor did he say too much. Every word was spoken slowly and firmly, as if each sentence had been carefully considered. In his eyes now was not only love, but responsibility, the resolve of a man who had endured countless hardships and finally understood what he truly wanted to hold on to in life. His gaze toward Diep was both gentle and resolute, conveying a message that needed no explanation. This was not an impulsive moment, nor a decision born out of fear of loss. It was a choice he had made after everything he had been through, a path he willingly chose for his future. Diep stood still before James, her hands unconsciously tightening together. Her heart raced so strongly that each beat echoed in her chest. Memories flooded back in that brief moment, hard days, moments when she nearly let go, the silent periods filled with pressure that she had faced alone. Yet unlike before, there was no fear or unease in her heart now. There were no unanswered questions left, no lingering doubts holding her back. As soon as James finished speaking, Diep gently nodded. It was not a forceful gesture, but it was clear and decisive, mirroring the decision she had quietly prepared within herself for a long time. It was an acceptance that needed no conditions, no more time. At the same moment, Diep made a clear choice for her own life. She decided that this year, she would marry James. Even though the road ahead still held uncertainties, even though full acceptance from James's father remained an unanswered question, she no longer wanted to remain in a state of waiting. To her, this happiness was something she chose to claim with her own courage and determination, without depending on anyone's permission. James slowly stood up and held Diep's hand tightly in his. The grip was warm, slightly trembling with emotion, as if he were trying to pour all the unspoken words into that single touch. He looked at her for a long moment, unhurried, unavoidant, then gently spoke the promises he had carried in his heart for so long. James promised to love, protect, and care for Diep and little Nee for the rest of his life. He vowed that he would never allow them to suffer any further pain, that he would shoulder every burden and face every difficulty on their behalf whenever needed. He spoke of a peaceful home, a place where Diep and Nee could live gently, free from fear and uncertainty. A place where waking up each morning no longer meant anxiety, but safety. A place where laughter outweighed tears, where happiness was not a luxury, but something present in every ordinary moment. As James slowly placed the ring on Diep's finger, her hand trembled softly, her eyes already glistening with tears. The ring rested quietly there, a silent yet deeply meaningful milestone. Diep's tears did not fall from pain, but from the overwhelming joy that followed all the waiting, endurance, and choices she had made. She looked at the ring on her hand, then up at James, emotions surging beyond words. In that moment, everything seemed to pause, leaving behind a warm feeling that spread throughout the space, as if a new chapter were slowly opening. A chapter shaped by decisions that had just been made, while ahead still lay unspoken matters, unresolved truths. Cheers erupted almost simultaneously, blending with long, unbroken rounds of applause that spread throughout the room bathed in warm light. The sound wasn't overwhelming, yet it was enough to make the atmosphere more vibrant and alive than ever. Familiar faces lit up with smiles, eyes shining with sincere joy, as if everyone was fully living in this special moment. Close friends stepped forward one by one to congratulate James and Diep, offering simple blessings filled with deep affection. No flowery words were needed, sometimes a tight embrace, a firm handshake, or a shared look was enough to say that they had witnessed and understood the long road the two had traveled together. Every smile in that room carried its own story, bearing witness to past upheavals, wounds, and moments when everything seemed to have gone too far to ever return. Now, all of those experiences converged into this single moment, not to revisit the past, but to share in the joy of a decision that had just been made. Not far away, James's mother stood quietly, watching her son. Her eyes followed his every small movement, lingering for a long moment on the hand tightly holding Diep's. The smile on her lips was not bright or showy, but gentle and deep, as if it held both relief and thoughts she had yet to put into words. She glanced at Diep, her gaze resting on the ring softly gleaming on Diep's finger, then lowered slightly for just a brief instant before the smile returned. It was the smile of a mother who had walked beside her child through stumbles, who had witnessed difficult choices and the silent moments of growing up. In that moment, the wounds of the past seemed to step back, not disappearing entirely, but no longer standing at the center. The misunderstandings that once exhausted them, the invisible pressures, the stretches of time that felt impossible to endure, all were still there, but gently set aside. In their place was the feeling of a new beginning slowly taking shape, steady and clear, like a path opening before James, Diep, and little Nee. James continued to hold Diep's hand tightly, never loosening his grip despite the laughter and congratulations surrounding them. It was as if he feared that letting go for even a moment might cause this instant to vanish. Diep tilted her head slightly to look at him, her eyes still wet with tears, yet shining far more brightly now. No words were needed. The silence between them carried a clear sense of unity, as though both understood that from this moment on, every future decision would no longer belong to just one of them. Nearby, little me was lifted into someone's arms, her clear, innocent laughter ringing out in the emotionally charged space. Her presence softened everything, turning this moment into more than just a story of two adults. It became the starting point of a family slowly taking shape. A family not yet perfect, not yet complete in everyone's eyes, but one that James and Diep had chosen with their own courage and love. That moment eventually passed, but its aftertaste lingered in every gaze, every breath, every emotion yet to be named. The year 2026 had only just begun, and ahead still lay many things left unsaid, unaddressed, unanswered. But at least, in this moment, they had found a shared anchor to move forward together. If you'd like to continue accompanying James and Diep on their journey through 2026, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to catch upcoming videos, and follow along as their choices, challenges, and turning points continue to unfold ahead.
Hẹn gặp lại mọi người ở những video sau nhé. Không nỡ rồi quay 2 phút luôn. Tạm biệt mọi người nhé.